This is a multi-life journey. Years is nothing. It's just a moment, a blip in the map. Your ability to stay in that, the quality of presence and personal responsibility for your own content that you've developed is what allows you to stay with those kinds of transitions. Then you will pierce the veil. You will cross the transition point. And on the other side of that transition point, you'll see the purpose of everything that has happened in your life, including this latest transition point, the reason for it, the purpose for it, and what it is you've become as a consequence of staying there and meeting it. Your life and your spiritual journey both have transition points. When you step through a transition point, your reality is utterly different than what it was before the transition point. Even though there may be aspects of what was there before, your position or relationship with yourself in life is shifted. Same people, same circumstance, same job, same teacher, but how you are with those things has shifted in a way that initially at first is this sense of opportunity, a sense of a spaciousness for being, a possibility of being, a possibility of something truer, more full, more loving, more real coming into existence. In that moment, we are actually meeting the truth of what we are as consciousness embodied more fully than we will 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years down the road. It is the best part of the deal because you get introduced to the new consciousness and the contrast is so delightfully clear. And there is this delightful quality of being compared to what it was before, but then you get used to it. It inevitably happens. You love chocolate milkshakes? Well, have a chocolate milkshake for lunch, dinner, breakfast every single day for a couple of months. Chocolate shakes will not be what they were before. Well, it's the same thing with everything. The system becomes immune. It loses the edge of the appreciation of the opportunity that comes when you cross the transition point. And that's your preparation for the next transition point. Look at, we just, if you can have realistic expectation about the nature of this journey, if you can have a way of holding it, if you can develop the ability to be in personal responsibility and presence with where you are right now, and you use that as the measure of your whatever's possible for you, and that's all you should ask for, whatever possible, not what I want, not my notion of enlightenment, not my notion of bliss. Yeah, I know all this awareness. I want to have bliss. So if the next transition comes and it doesn't look like it's bliss, you're not going to stay with it. You're not going to make it through, even though there might be bliss on the other side. The universe is always bringing to us what it is we ask for. On the spiritual path as well. We're the ones who's not willing to stay put long enough for the universe to give it to us. We're the ones who are always shifting around so that it can't find us when it's trying to give us what it is we have asked for, or it's showing up in exactly the form that you would not want it to show up as, because you don't know what you're asking for. That's the predicament. That's the predicament everybody is in. Anytime you're dealing with the content of this dimension, and that's what needs to be transformed, is the content of this dimension, and which is for each of us our own mental orientation, our own emotional orientation, our own physical orientation into existence. It's going to be unknowable. You're going to be always questioning or not able to know, not always being, but there are going to be times when your ability to access that part of you that can know this is right, I'm on my path. This is making a difference. Can recognize a part of me that wants to betray that, wants to trick me, wants to divert me. And can stay true to what has come to you up until this point. Then we grow in our ability to be in presence with these transitions without looking for an outcome. Because there's another thing with the transition point. If you're looking for an outcome in your process, the universe is going to also play with you. It wasn't a transition point anyway. It's just a bad cycle of Saturn or Mars. It was just a bad week or bad month or bad year, right? We all have these guna cycles. And they go on if you're on the spiritual path or not, where everything turns to shit. You can't know what is really the forces that are building the transition point until after you've made the transition. And you'll see that all along there was this energetic component to it. It had this greater edge. It had this poignant misery that wasn't normal. It had this poignant quality to it, particularly painful or difficult, that was outside of the domain of what you normally would encounter, especially if your circumstances were otherwise perfectly normal. It's different than the karmas that are working out through each of our individual systems. It's different than the samskaras that we've inherited or that we're trying to resolve in our human life, the arc of our human life. The spiritual life is a different arc, but it leaps off from the arc of our human samskara life. It rises beyond that, but there is still the samskaras to go through. When you're going to die, what nature of trauma that may occur, these things are, in a way, predestined as part of the arc of being a human being. It was the impulse that brought you into this life, and it's going to play out one way or another. The only thing that's going to change is the quality of your consciousness with that arc of your life. Some people have wonderful, beautiful lives. Everything flows and they have this spontaneous, easeful relationship with existence. And there's others that they just love the challenge and the danger and the risks, and that's what's important to them. These may not have anything to do with the spiritual development. They may have some inner relationship. But we're all, when you awaken spiritually, a different set of principles are going on beyond karma, beyond destiny, beyond the programming of your multiple lives. And what's changing isn't the personality and vehicle as much as the quality of consciousness that's occupying the person and has that personality. So that particular quality of transition point, the being able to recognize it as separate from the normal unfolding of consequences of karmic patterns. This may not be clear at first. I know I was confused as a teacher, seeing that someone going through a particularly negative period and not understanding what its role is based on where they are on the spiritual path, until I got, oh, it's the samskara pattern. It's the inherited karma that's being worked out in their system, that there's ill health or there is an accident or everything in the world falls away for them or any of those things. And it may not have any direct relationship at all to the unfolding of their spiritual possibility. The only thing I can say is that when someone has lived in alignment with their spiritual possibility, the resolution of the remaining samskaras becomes easier and more useful and graceful, no matter what it may be, an injury, an accident, a loss. You're able to be with it in a much different way than one who's not on the spiritual path. You know, there's a part of me that wish I could do it for you. I really wish I could take the burden. so you could come to what it is that I know you all to be. But it doesn't work that way. As a matter of fact, the more I try to intervene, the more I get in the way of you walking your own path. This is the lesson that's coming to me. The thing that I can bring is this current, this transmission, this force that empowers and strengthens the quality of consciousness that you have. And how that can become is you only have to turn to it. You just only have to allow for that to be a possibility for yourself. But you do the walking. You're the one who takes on the responsibility. You're the one who wakes up or not. You're the one who makes the choices. And why is that? Because you're the supreme being already. I have no more authority over your life than you have over your life, except I know who I am. I don't have to take your misery personally, or your stupidity personally, or your self-destruction personally. I can say, okay, well, that's what they decided. They want another 10 lifetimes. Fine. Figure it out. They'll figure it out eventually. We'll all figure it out eventually. But there's still this part of me that wishes it didn't have to be any longer than it absolutely needs to be. And whatever that is this misplaced compassion, which I've been accused of a lot recently, or if it's divine love, or it's just a fellow human being that wouldn't want another human being to have to go through this any longer than needed. So be it. But I can do this. I can give you heads up. I can put up signposts. I can give markers. I can describe pointers. I can perhaps help you hold what's happening in a way that you wouldn't be able to by yourself, just through our proximity or our relationship, so that you could have the strength that wouldn't be available to you normally, to have the clarity, to have the willingness, to have the faith that wouldn't be available normally. Because what I bring is absolute faith. That's when faith is no longer required. Faith is no longer a necessary instrument for me, except for in this outer manifestation. I need faith for this outer manifestation. But for all of you, or for this work, I don't need faith because I know what the outcome is. I know what you are already. And I don't have impatience. I don't have anything like get better quickly. I don't feel that I have to make you get better quicker or to wake up more quickly. It happens automatically. Automatically, because the juice that flows through me is for you, not for me. I don't need this juice. I don't need this current. I don't need anything. It's coming because you want it. You need it. You're the ones that need this current to be felt, to be accessible, so that flow of consciousness can be more available in your own experience. All gurus do this. This is their role. And what is it? It's not about absolute. The nature, I saw it just, I was in Samadhi yesterday. And I recognized I'm looking out at the universe and it's just stars everywhere. Stars and galaxies. And it's just so beautiful and so vivid and so dense. And I'm saying, wow, this is cool. And I recognize, oh, this is God's eyes. God, I am looking through God's eyes at the creation. How cool. That's what I'm in the state that God is in. And I could see that this place, which has always been there for me, but I never knew what it was the way God looks as creation, this vast, endless, infinite unfolding of the potentiality of manifestation and the fullness and the completeness and the infinite patience and satisfaction and being in that place. And then I looked behind and I saw the absolute, total non-existence, total sat, total unknowable non-existence. And that's when I said, oh, God is just the mask for the absolute. God just wears the face, is the face for the absolute. So when someone is looking for truth, it could be found through God as well as the absolute directly. And what is God? God is love. God is the willingness to include whatever is arising. God is a freedom of being in connection and relationship. God is the loving principle that nourishes the human being so that it can come forward and endure the fierceness of the absolute when it shows itself. And we're both. We're both. We're the mask and we're the reality. And this near expression, this closely worn face of the absolute God is the supreme being. The one that's closest to the absolute carries the face of the supreme being. And we're that face.